to be visible.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So so all of these tags, this is going to be the key, and it's going to be value, and etc. So when I expand the properties, probably it's better if I switch over to classic so you can see it better. And this is not the same EC2 instance, but I'm just showing it for the example, right? Because it would work exactly the same.
So do you have anything in the in your AWS environment that is a Fargate instance? We don't use EC2 very much,
Okay.
but I know that tags tab is visible in Fargate as well.
Yes.
And my assumption is that operates similarly. It would be a host, but we'd be looking at the ECS clusters, which that's cool. So I'm looking for something that's comparative.
So with the ECS cluster, it will be from the Kubernetes host, right?
So this Fargate, we're doing Fargate.
Okay, let me see if I have any examples on my environment. But if you see a tag here, it should get propagated into Dynatrace automatically. But
see, and that's something I'm not seeing. So we do have that tags tab on our Fargate instances, and there are values present, and I have not seen those values come over into Dynatrace. Is there a configuration that maybe we have missed?
Possibly. Are the Fargates being monitored in the environment?
Yes.
In the Dynatrace environment. Okay.
They have an agent on them, and in the process, and they're being monitored. So what we do is we have a Fargate. Our build process is create a Docker container, take that container, and send it to the EKS in AWS, and then use that in Fargate to deploy an instance of that particular service. And so it's essentially a wrapper. It's a host that wraps the container. And so we did discover that there's a boundary between host tags and process tags. Yes. And we've got the process tags pretty well down, but it's the host ones that are causing us some strain.
Okay, so and you have the AWS instance connected as well?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I wonder if I have Fargate here. Doesn't look like I have it in my demo environment. Okay, so if the tags aren't getting propagated automatically, you could create your own automatically apply tagging rules, right?
Which so we went down that path as well. The reason, I'm sorry to stop you, but we've actually done this part, and we've had some successes there as well. But the thing that I'm thinking is we want to make sure that we have the fewest amount of steps between where we're at in success. So if we can get those tags from AWS into Dynatrace, we're done and we're good. Adding in additional steps for us is just going to make this more painful for us all around. So probably we should go back and take a look at the cloud config on AWS. That's my guess, is that we've done something there that's not working.
And Rick, do you have access to that interface? Would you be able to maybe drive, and we can maybe guide you through a little bit?
I do. If that's okay,
that'd be great.
Can figure out how to share the screen.
Sure. There's a learning curve to it, for sure.
Let's see. I see chat participants, reactions. Oh, there. In the middle in bright green. I love it. So this is one of the Fargate instances that I was telling you about. And here are the tags that are associated with that particular instance.
I see.
And so, like, yeah, so there's that. And I think right here, so we've done some automatic tags. Wow, what am I working on here? Yeah, so we've done some auto tags here. We have those kind of working. Those seem fine. And this is what I was wondering is, as I was looking at as you were navigating through, the cloud and virtualization, AWS, is where you went. And so we have that particular one is there should be, oh wow, they've been busy in here. There should be an SIS. Well, let me see if I can, oh, there's no way to, okay, BYOT, and this isn't really even alphabetical, I think.
Maybe Command F or something for.
Oh, there we go.
Just
Here we
find
go.
the page.
So here is the AWS account that we are currently running that in right here. So that one has been hooked up, and that is the account. And it says monitor all resources. And there's an option here for monitor resources selected by tags.
Yeah, that option is only useful if you're only trying to monitor like select resources that have certain tags, not everything in the account.
And so then this, according to what I'm seeing, this is the connector that says to AWS, allow Dynatrace to see things.
Yes.
Especially those tags. And so then now with this done, I know that this particular account then is attached and we should be able to see things. So then if I look really quickly, then if I go to that, let's see, if I go to that host here, what's going on there? If I go to here and I go to just one of them that I'm currently looking at, which would be this one. So this is the Fargate instance, would be the host it's currently running on, and go to properties and tags, and you can see that those tags that were present in AWS are not here.
I see. Yeah, so the Fargate instance is not getting connected into the AWS account either, and the installation type is pass. I wonder it has to do with the installation type. You see how it says pass, right? And that's the only option for Fargate monitoring.
Under where?
So in that property, so it's a PAS type AWS Fargate.
Yes.
So for the tags to get automatically pushed into Dynatrace from AWS, it needs to connect the entity into the AWS instance that's being monitored, the one that you were showing in the settings, right? And when I was showing, if you seen, there was like a reference to the ARN template, there was reference to the AWS account and everything. Mm-hmm. And that was for the EC2 instance, and we can deploy one agent directly on the EC2 instances. But for the Fargate, it can be done through an automatic injection using the GitHub release we have. So it's not a regular one agent deployment is what I'm trying to get at.
And so this one we've done that through at build time is where we've added the agent.
Oh, I see. Okay. Docker build. Okay.
See, and we've similarly tagged everything, like literally everything that's in AWS right now has that one page with tags on it with several values in it. and yeah, I can see that there's some disconnect here between the agent and AWS, and AWS has them, but the agent is somehow not picking them up. I just don't know how to fill that gap.
I see. There are some configurations that you can run during the deployment stage, during the build time injection, that would propagate tags, but it wouldn't be picking it up from the AWS still, because again, for the AWS tags to get migrated into Dynatrace, there needs to be a connection between the monitored entity, like an EC2 instance or an auto scaling group, and the AWS instance itself. But in this particular case, the only way you can monitor Fargate in Dynatrace, you can do it through a build time injection, and there's also a runtime injection version. So both are installation type of PaaS, the one we're seeing there. So those won't get connected into the AWS instance the way a regular one agent installation would get connected to.
So what you're saying then is, since we've used the build time deployment, Dynatrace is monitoring the process running in the container, but it's not and does not have visibility at the host level, because it's not configured to monitor the host. It's monitoring the processes inside the container that are running in that Fargate instance. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it doesn't have to be the host. It can be the process, the service, anything that's running inside the AWS Fargate. The way you're monitoring the AWS Fargate is the reason why those tags won't get propagated. They're not being connected to the instance because they're the platform as a service installation type. So if you go to like an EC2 instance, for example, and you look up the installation type, it's not a standalone. This is a standalone installation, the Fargate.
Right.
So, and you can navigate to a host and like pull up an EC2 instance, and you'll be able to see the installation type is different.
I don't know that we have any hosts that are EC2 instance types.
Oh, it doesn't have to be EC2. It can be non-Fargate, non-standalone.
Let's see, those are the last few. So, oh wow, yeah. I everything else is on VMware and everything. Like, we've invested so heavily in Fargate stuff. It's yeah.
I mean, it does look like you have some EC2 instances right there.
Sorry, technology type. Oh, so are you saying the operating system?
So there's the virtualization and there's the AWS Elastic Compute Cloud. So you could get into one of those.
So yeah, these are all Fargate.
Oh, those are all Fargate, okay.
And then the rest of our stuff is all running in VMware.
Gotcha.
So I understand. I think I'm at the edge of understanding of what you're saying is that with an EC2 instance, with an agent deployed in the EC2 instance, it's monitoring it, which is everything, the system. It's monitoring everything and has access to those tags that are associated with the EC2 instance in AWS.
Yeah, it will be able to correlate it to the AWS instance you've connected to Dynatrace. So you see there's a monitoring mode, right? And there's a full stack, infrastructure only, and there's a standalone. So all of those Fargates will be under that standalone. So if you put that filter, you should see all of those Fargates by themselves. And they're right there.
Standalone?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a cool feature. Okay, so standalone piece. Okay, yes.
Yep. So for all of those types of deployments, the tags won't get automatically picked up because they're a standalone. Now, if it was in a full stack, which is not
I don't know that we have.
like a non-Fargate, it doesn't look like you have anything in the AWS. But if it was in AWS, you would get those tags picked up automatically.
So then, okay, so this is a limitation in the technology then. So Fargate in AWS right now, we will not be able to get those tags in because of the way that it is deployed currently.
Yes. Yep.
So it's a limitation in the technology.
Yeah.
How could we? Is there a way to do it with Fargate instances in AWS? Because I've read a lot of the documentation, and some of the stuff is very sparse. I think I read a couple of it, like they're pretty straightforward. One talks about hosts, one talks about processes. So I've read stuff around auto tagging, environmental tags, all kinds of different stuff. I've never run across any, hey, by the way, this doesn't work this way. Like, this is a limitation. This does not work this way. Don't try this. It's not going to work.
Yeah, we do have the documentation on the list of entities that we can pick up tags from, and I'm gonna put that documentation in the chat. Just did that. So yeah, I don't see Fargate in that list. So
Sorry, working on a trouble ticket at the same time. So, services with entities. You're talking this list right here.
yep.
App Runner, Amazon AppStream, Sync, Aurora, EC2, Amazon Cloud Search, Kubernetes, Data Sync, DocumentDB, EBS, EC2, more Elastic Container. See, this is right here. Amazon Elastic Container Service, ECS clusters. So this is this just the list of the items that are available? Container Insights. Because Fargate is an Elastic Container Service.
Okay.
But it's saying that in this case, I'm taking this column right here for granted already. Cloud instance, monitoring, tag, and filtering. So if I go back down to AWS, EC2, ECS, it says yes. Cloud, AWS, ECS, custom device, container insights, cluster name.
But do you have the ECS service added into the cloud instance?
Into the cloud.
From the Dynatrace side when you connected the so I can drop in that documentation too. So there are default services that are monitored automatically, and there are some services that you can add into the connected instance, right? So I wonder if you add that ECS container insight monitoring into the instance,
it will make things. My apologies. So this cloud and virtualization, AWS. Are you talking this interface here?
Yep.
So OIT, SIS, again. There we go. Prod running. So
yeah, so you can go to manage services here.
Manage services, DynamoDB, EBS, EC2,
Yes.
RDS, S3, application network, load balancer built in, load balancer, and Lambda. Okay, so we do a fair bit of Lambda stuff too. So if I add a service then to be monitored.
So there should be an ECS container insight service.
Let's see. So you're saying ECS container insights, this one here?
Yep. So there's the ECS monitoring, and then there's the ECS container insights. So those are the two CloudWatch metric services that you can add.
Okay.
So I think for the tags to get populated, maybe those two services will also need to be monitored in the CloudWatch. But when you add that, you will need to make sure that the role they've assigned for that monitoring has the permissions. The documentation that I just put lists the required permissions for the ECS monitoring.
Okay.
So it should have, the cluster role needs to have that permission.
So Beck, should he add that other service then too? The what was it?
Yeah.
Amazon Elastic Container, I think, was also one that's missing here.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking might be the reason, because like I was looking for like a Fargate, but it looks like it's a ECS, right? Which is the same thing. And if we're picking up tags from the EC2, and that EC2 is getting connected between the AWS instance and the monitor host, then maybe we also need to add those ECS services as well.
Okay. Click on these. So customer name, service name. All right. Container insights. Interesting stuff. That's okay. So, is there nothing in here in Fargate? Okay. System cluster. No, because that's running a cluster. Okay, so so it looks like I have access to some information here, but potentially, like, there are no metrics defined in any of these other ones.
No, those are built in, so that's why you're not able to like click into them. They do have like metrics. When you go to your AWS page, you can look at the metrics there. So if you navigate to this particular instance in Dynatrace,
so these metrics here are available in Dynatrace.
Yeah, it should be available now that we've added those ECS containers, but it might take some time. I think there's an API request every minute or every 5 minutes.
So then if I went back to hosts, and this is the host, I'm looking at properties and tags, I still don't see them yet, but yeah, there might be some delay.
Yeah, and also, we need to keep in mind that there are certain permissions needed. So if the role assigned for monitoring for that particular instance doesn't have the permissions to access the ECS container insights, you wouldn't be able to get it. That's why I put that documentation, and there's a JSON file that shows like the predefined policy for all supported services.
So, okay. We'll probably have to bring in our architects that have access to those things. I don't have access to those.
Let me ping while you're doing this. I don't know how long this meeting is for, but
Yeah. it would be Josh would be the one because he's the one that set up the initial that role, Dynatrace monitoring role.
Yep, I'll just give me a sec.
Okay, well this is interesting. Imagine that. Configuration problems. This is one scout system as far as configuration is concerned.
A lot of documentation, but yep.
It's the biggest band-aid I've had to rip off in a long time. It's all good though, it's for the right reasons.
And Rick, just wondering, are you familiar with the chat feature in Dynatrace? Where you can go and okay, good. Yeah, just for some of these configuration questions, you know, you can always come to these meetings or email us. But if you're doing something on the fly and want a quick answer, that's typically what we suggest as best practice.
Definitely, I actually used that yesterday
Awesome.
to get through a couple things like maybe I'll even while we're waiting here I'll show you that one. So there's as far as tags, you know, we're looking at this and thinking, well, we have some things that potentially we want to do like and this kind of worked. So this was one where the process group in the cluster is doing its thing and the tags are there, you can see it, but we're actually getting alerts, problems on the host.
I'm on a meeting, so I'm just
And it's the host that's having the issue, but it's the processes that are doing doing the bad things. And so in the chat, we asked them kind of what was going on, and they let us down this process of creating a filter that finds the hosts. And then this was the part that I just still looking at this, scratching my head, but I know what it does. We're looking into the process group and the ECS cluster, and we're saying all the tags that you have in you, let's take and copy those up to the host, is what it's doing. And this worked, taking the process instances in the
Do you know what Josh is on, Rick?
applied to the ECS cluster, these tags here. And apparently these two are needed, and I added them, but what we don't see in Dynatrace, we don't see the tags.
Do we think it's lacking permissions on the role?
That's what I'm wondering.
Okay, and so you say you added them here?
Yes, manually. I just went add service and then added these two.
Okay. Is there any documentation on specifically the IAM permissions I need to grant the role to make those work?
That's a good question.
Yes.
There's this one. How do you want
So when you expand the JSON predefined policy for all support services, So that's the list, and there's an ECS list clusters permission.
How does Zoom handle chat history? When they join, do they see previous?
No.
They don't.
I can put it in there again.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can just post those 2 links again, that would be awesome.
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
No, this is great. If this will tell me what I need to add to the policy. An updated AWS monitoring policy to include additional AWS services. To update the IAM policy used to JSON below, predefined JSON. So I see JSON in the first one you sent me. The second one,
On the links that I sent, I think.
The second link.
The second link is about.
I think it was only
else.
the first link was the one that.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, the second link is where I got the original CloudFormation templates.
Gotcha.
But if we're saying this policy needs to be updated, see what the changes are. ACS. Here. So if I copy that and paste.
Pardon me for jumping around. I just got a question asked about another system. And I'm going to move the Zoom thing. So,
So I don't see any change. Yeah, that policy is what we already have out there.
Okay, so you should already have the list clusters permission then, if that was the same policy.
What was that?
Yeah.
CS list customers, I already see that in there.
Yeah, we can see it if you navigate now to that AWS instance from Dynatrace. I already see it. I see the tags populating. Not for the host, but maybe also populate for the host too.
that was our concern is we need these tags at the host level because the host is the thing that we're that's throwing the errors. down at the, are you saying at the process levels, like at the service level?
No, so gonna to the instance that I'm looking at, and that this is where we added these two services. So we have the ECS container insight metrics coming in now, and also the ECS insights. And when we go into an individual ECS, we can see the AWS tags you had on that instance. So you can navigate to the link that I dropped in the chat.
Okay.
So now those are the two services that we just added, and you can open up maybe a container insight service
Container insight.
right here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and we can open up one of those clusters.
I've got stuff on, we'll do this one.
So I know we set up SIS prod before we had the ActiveGate in place, and we added the ActiveGate afterwards. I don't know if that would cause this specific account to be loading differently than the others.
But the, speaking to your issue here, there, this is now, they are there. I see them.
Okay.
Those tags are present.
Yeah, so that's the automatically pulled tags from the AWS. So we could set up tagging rules within Dynatrace to pull the tags from this entity and apply it to the host if we want to see it in the host level. But I think that's what the list that was showing for the supported entity types for tag imports and exports.
So are you saying then that like if we had a host and it doesn't have those tags, we can create an automatic from this, which is container insights, and then apply them to the host?
Yes, I think we can do that.
Let's practice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm seeing, all right. Okay, I'm I'm a little disappointed that there is this much configuration. Awesome to see some of those values a little closer to us, but if there's some, documentation to help us through this, and this has been very, 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 very helpful as well, that will, we can get it done. I just want to do a couple things with the tagging that's been very useful to us for observability. We've got a ticket managing system service now that has CMDB numbers that we'd love to push in and use, and so that people are aware of like billing, like what's our most expensive application right now. Some of that information is very, very hard to get at. And then also, when we go through error cycles where there's some issue, being able to get the right people in the room so that they can resolve issues quickly has been kind of difficult. So this has been helpful. Is there anything else that maybe if you could lead me through this of setting up one rule to grab out, say, maybe the repository here, AWS repo.
Okay.
To set up, is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. Just confirm. Earlier, you were saying you see the tags from the ECS processes.
So
like
I'm saying this right
tags?
here, these tags here.
Yeah.
And so they're already they're running in this Fargate instance in the cluster, and when we have errors, like we will see them. Oh goodness, I don't want to mess up anything I'm doing here for the flow. When we get a problem card in Dynatrace, and we are looking for specifically the monitoring rule that we say is the CPU on the host is saturated.
Mm-hmm.
That's telling us that we got to scale, but we're not, and so something's wrong. So that we need to get an engineer in there to take a look at scaling and see what's going on. we have that alert, but it's on the host. And we get the alert and it's great, but when we get those alerts that none of these tags come across.
I see, because the tags don't live on the host level.
Right. And so
Okay.
what we've done is we've created a couple rules and we've used some of the workarounds to kind of jury rig getting the account information here on this right hand side. We've been able to do that, but none of those other tags are here. My expectation is that the documentation says whenever there's a problem ticket, we take all of the tags from and related tags and bundle them together, put them in the problem card, so that you can again. And so from that's makes me feel like, yeah, if I'm on a host, anything that's in the scope of that host, definitely give me all the tags and throw them into that problem card so that I can see total scope of what's going on. It may be on the host something's going wrong, but it might be one of the processes. And so I need to see all of the total scope. So that made me feel like in the documentation that, hey, we'll grab that total scope for you, throw it in the problem card, but we weren't seeing it.
Okay.
And then then as we asked more questions, it's like, oh, we need to use tagging, we need to use metadata, we need to set up rules. We found some boundaries between host monitoring and process monitoring where those tags didn't come across automatically. So
I see.
that was my disappointment, is that the documentation made it feel like a lot of this was automatic, and finding that it's not, and it needs to be configured, and the configuration is non-trivial. So I don't, had we been setting the wilderness on our own, we'd be starving and having a difficult time.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
again,
it definitely requires a little bit of configuration, but yeah, it's just mostly just getting comfortable with setting up those automatic rules. And like you said, most AWS entities get the tags automatically pushed into Dynatrace, but at the host level, it does look like the Fargate ones are not something that we can pull. I mean, we did get the ECS tags pulled, so that's good at least.
So I'll just call this one ECS tag test. And so then this would apply to question, what would this one be? ACS classical. I'm gonna take a shot guess here. Hosts.
So the rule would need to be applied to the host, right? So that's where the tags will go in. So you can decide which hosts this rule can apply to.
So we'll say let's see. We'll call this one instance type is I think on this one I did use those process groups, but
well, you can also do the process group, and once you do the process group, you can apply the rule to the underlying hosts. So that will take care of the hosts as well. So you could do the same thing that you did with the account rule right there.
So I guess what I would like to do is do the hosts and then apply the rule to all the processes underneath. Because again, like thinking about from a scope, I'm on the host, I've got all these processes running potentially. They need to be all associated with the same piece of data that I'm trying to, to deal with. Applying it at the host and having it being able to waterfall down into the processes. Is that here apply to processes running on matching hosts? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you can also apply the rule to the process group, and there will be two options that show up where you could apply it to both processes running in the host, the hosts and the services as well. So everything in between the host and the service.
I guess that I've already done already done that, then with the account one here, just what I've done. So that's where I use this, the regex here to pull from the process group. So, yeah. Okay. So, in the process group, it would have to take a look then at the ECS cluster, and then there would be a tag that would be available there. So, should I maybe duplicate this one and then we can work on, or create new? What do you recommend?
Yeah, you can create a new one. That's probably easier.
Okay.
Hey, just a real quick question, so I understand what's going on. Did you have to make changes to like the Terraform or something to get those tags in place?
That's potentially what we're going to have to do.
Okay.
So the way that I did it currently was to get this in is you can I'm passing a parameter into the Docker container and using DT tags, which is a Dynatrace method for tagging something dynamically.
Okay.
So then at build time, I pass in the AWS account ID and it shows up as a tag at that point. So it's, then it's available, but it's only available at the process level.
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, and then I'm using that to be able to grab the process level and then percolate it up to the host.
Yeah, I've noticed that the hosts tend to look like the task definition name, which seemed a little odd to me.
Yes.
But it made me wonder if there was a way for you to apply the tag to the task definition rather than to the running task. But if you're not doing it directly on the AWS resources, rather you're just passing it to the Dynatrace agent, then that answers my question.
Okay. Okay, so then adding a rule and monitored entity, and this was the host you said?
Yes.
And then a condition. We'll call the entity the host. Name. Oh goodness. Okay.
Yeah, you can type the entire, just type in host name there, the property, with the gap in between the host and the name.
So
Or you could do the instance type.
instance type. So there's a name that we could potentially use, because these are all going to be Fargate. I am out of my element here. Maybe name tag contains BYU API students. This would be v3, and I'm not finding anything.
Yeah, this will need to be the same thing that you see in the host property. So when you go to that Fargate host and you expand the properties, you can only filter for the properties that exist within that host, which none of the AWS properties, we see it there, right? So it would need to be from that.
So you're saying
host.
in hosts. Allow it manages tabs. Okay, so you're saying then here.
Yep. You can look at properties. So you could use one of those properties.
So maybe if I said the detected name.
Yep.
So one agent says, so this is the detected name.
Could you not use the PAS type Fargate?
I could. We've just got a lot of Fargate instances out there, so I'm trying to limit it to the one that's actually
Okay.
or yeah, just for now, so I don't conflate the configuration. So that name that's on there, EC2 instance name. Host.
No, the host name. Yep.
Here we go. Host name contains UAU students. Okay, so now it's showing. All right, great. So, all right, thank you.
Cool. So now you can apply to the processes running on that host as well. The option.
Processes running on the host. Okay. And so that now will tag the host on all processes. And so this one now is great. So then now I need to be able to pull the value from that tag that we had.
Yes.
So putting back here, would like to use this one, the repo.
What kind of paint is it?
Yeah,
Just-
that's where it gets a little complicated. So that's what I'm trying to see what placeholder we could use that would give us.
This mark or brown.
Okay.
Ah,
Right?
okay.
Because it's the same one.
So the other one they had, was like this.
Excellent. I'm gonna take a picture of that.
Yes.
If you expand that available placeholders,
Home Depot.
Yeah.
Right, we are done.
It's amazing.
You can check it out.
I'll have to send you a picture when it's all done, the wall and everything.
Yes.
Looks amazing. Oh, I love it. It's great.
This group level,
Wonderful.
and there's the
Thank you.
ECS container in there.
Appreciate.
You guys have a great day. Thank you so much.
Appreciate.
I appreciate it too. I've got the world's most awesome
So
staircase now.
process group. You said the ECS container.
Yeah, you guys have a great day.
Yeah, so the ECS cluster, it looks like. Sorry, I'm gonna. Put that in.
top line of that big block of text, like the third one in.
Process group ECS cluster.
Yeah.
Yep.
Placeholder is invalid property is not allowed for the specified type host. And this is where I ran into problems. As I was experimenting with this is a host rule, whenever I try and reference something outside of this, it gives me errors. Maybe I didn't go far enough.
No, it does. Oh, I see. Okay. So because we're pointing to the host, we can't derive a value from the process group. Is that what it is? Think. So change to supply to the host. Let you, to the process. It should let you choose that particular placeholder. So when you scroll down, we were applying it to the host, right?